Good morning. This is Mulligans and Hackers Golf, podcast episode 1. My name is Chris.
And I'm Alvin.
And we should be golfing today, as we were yesterday in the 20-degree weather. However, if you look outside, there's some of that white stuff falling from the sky. So what better day than to make our inaugural podcast? So, Alvin, how was your golf game yesterday?
Mediocre at best. Although I did get a couple circles on my scorecard yesterday, a birdie and an eagle on number 8.
Your first eagle ever, right?
Yep, ever.
That's pretty impressive. You had a drive that was just on the edge of the green, and you brought out your least favorite club in your bag, and you drained a nice long putt.
I did, and it felt really good too to get that first eagle. To get my first birdie of the year was good too. A couple holes before that, but I did spray a triple in between those two circles there.
As is the case for most of us amateurs out there. My card was a little different. I had 7 pars yesterday and a lot of inconsistencies on the other 11 holes. But overall, it wasn't too bad. I mean, we're early in the season, and we're out here trying to have fun and trying to get prepared for our upcoming inaugural Mulligans and Hackers golf season.
Yeah. Why did we start that?
Well, I seem to remember that you came to me with an idea about possibly putting together a podcast or a group of guys who enjoy playing golf just as much as we do, who love going out every weekend and getting our hacks in and taking our mulligans and just having a great time.
So I think we should go back because this kind of started last year when you and I both played a lot more golf than we normally do, and we did it together, and we had some really good times out there last year. And I think towards the end of the year we had both decided that we were going to get memberships this year, which first time for me having a membership.
First time for me as well.
And our home course is Cottonwood golf course. Fits right into our hacker range.
Yeah, it's
nothing too outrageous. So then when we had our memberships, I'm kind of a competitive guy, though people might not know that, but I always like to have something inside the game for me and my friends to play. So I kind of thought, well, why don't we do something like the PGA, do a FedEx Cup Tour point type system, and that'd be kind of fun. But the idea for Mulligans and Hackers, I guess, was I came to you with the idea, and you were kind of like, yeah, that's a good idea. And then we approached another friend of ours, Isaac, to get involved with it as well. He's more of a tech guy. He's not here with us. But then we kind of started going from there. We got our memberships, and it's like, okay, how do we get this going? And I guess first thing we did was pick the logo.
Yeah, we picked a logo. Isaac came up and designed one for us. And
we had a few choices, and I guess that was the first. We started whittling down the pictures and what we wanted to do to put what would look good on a shirt or a hat, and what would look good just for fun. And this is what we got down to, was the picture that you see on our Facebook page, and eventually you'll see on some merchandise that we get going.
Absolutely. We got a few things in the works. We got some golf shirts and a few hats that we're working on. We'll see how that goes. I mean, we'll get those out to some friends and family and close people that we know that are interested. And then if the interest is there, we'll start getting a few more out. A little bit about our home course, Cottonwood. It's a par 66 set in the valley. It's an executive course. Beautiful course with some tough greens. Yesterday on the par 5.
Par 5 green was an absolute nightmare yesterday.
It's a green that everything slopes to the front, and where the pin placement was, if you hit it just a little too hard on your putt, you run right off the green.
I think we had 4 of us out there yesterday, and I think, did we all triple bogey that one?
We all triple bogeyed. It was not a great showing on that hole. That's the lone par 5 on the course. There is, I believe, 7 par 3s, and then there's 10 par 4s. So it's a fun little course where you don't have to overpower the ball to get it to the greens, but when you do get to the greens, you got to make some good putts if you want to score well. I love playing that course. I mean, we have 5-6 other courses in town that we like to get out to every now and again. But Cottonwood's our home course, and most weekends you'll find us out there. So what got you into the game of golf, Alvin?
Well, I've had a love-hate relationship with the sport since I first picked up a club, probably about 25 years ago on my way from Newfoundland to here. First time I actually played a course was in Manitoba, and we only got a few holes in because we were making our way out here to Alberta at the time, and I was like, yeah, I think I could play this game. And then when I got here and started to get involved in the game, I found out really quick that I wasn't good at the game. I would just play it with friends and family every now and then as just a day out. But as my other sports started to dwindle, like playing hockey, softball, my interest in golf started to go up, so I wanted to play more, and I wanted to get better. But it was never really, I never really got involved with learning the game until pretty much last year, when we spent more time at the range than we did on the golf course.
Yeah.
And watching videos, taking it out to the course, trying things out, and with a good crew and a good bunch of friends to go out repeatedly going out to the golf course, it makes learning the game a little bit better and a lot more fun. That's really where all this came from, was good friends and going out and playing golf and enjoying the company you're with and enjoying the course that you're on.
Absolutely. And I mean, living in southern Alberta where we live, in one of the sunniest cities in Canada, I mean,
except for today.
Yeah, except for today, of course. We have the opportunity to golf half the year usually. We get a good 6-month golf season where we can put lots of work in, get lots of rounds in. I mean, last year, even with the COVID shortened season, I was able to get in darn near 100 rounds. I was traveling around to Calgary, playing with my dad. I played most of the courses here in town. We were out just about every weekend. It's a game that, you know, it really is a love-hate relationship, because some days you go out there and you hit the ball real well, things are working. And then other days you go out there and it's, you know, you can't replicate what you did yesterday. It's a struggle sometimes.
It's a game you'll never perfect, but you can keep getting better at if you play it.
Absolutely. I got into the game of golf just probably the last 3 or 4 years. I played the odd time when I was a little bit younger for different wind-ups for sports and stuff. I've always been a fairly athletic guy, and I've always had an interest in sports that are challenging. So now that, you know, when I found some friends that enjoyed golf and shared an interest in it.
And competitive.
We're
competitive.
Yeah, we are very competitive.
We're competitive with each other because our games are pretty similar.
Yep. Yeah, it's true. You're a more consistent ball striker kind of guy. You usually, your card's not as up and down as it was yesterday. You're fairly consistent along. I might drive the ball a little bit further, but where you make up your strokes is generally closer to the green. You're a little bit better with your touch. And typically, up until this year anyways, I've been a better putter, but that doesn't seem to be the case so far this season. Your putter seems to have come alive for you.
Well, my putter is better this year, and you picked up a new one, so you're going to have to dial that baby in.
Yeah, I got a new putter along with a new custom set of irons this year. I decided, since we're taking golf seriously and, you know, getting our first memberships and whatnot, I went and seen local guy Bob Saylor, been club fitting here in Medicine Hat for 25 years. So I called him up and I went and I did a club fitting, and he fitted me for some Mizuno irons, some JP 920 or JPX 921 hot metals. I love them. It's taken a little bit of time for me to get used to, because I mean, my other clubs I'd had for 2-3 years and I had played with them. So these ones are a little bit different feel, a little bit stronger lofts. I love how they feel. It's just getting used to the distances and trusting what the range is telling me I'm doing for my distances. That's something that I'm really working on. My putter's a little heavier than my previous one, so also trying to get my weight down a little bit. But I mean, overall, it's coming along. We've played, I think, up almost 10 rounds now already, and there's signs of things coming along. So it's really good. I mean, you got some new clubs too, didn't you?
First brand new set of irons ever. Everything I've ever owned has always been secondhand. But because we were going to do this, get our memberships and play a lot of golf this year, I went and got my first brand new set of Wilson Staffs, D7s. I've always been a fan of Wilson.
Nice.
Even from the first time I started golfing, I think the rental set I had was Wilson, and I was like, and the name just stuck with me. So when I did go and get my first brand new set of irons, it was going to be a set of Wilsons. The bag that I have, it's still a work in progress. The irons that I have, I've never been a good putter. Putting has always been an issue for my game. So I threw away kind of the mallet putter that I used for years. And out of the scrap pile in my backyard, I pulled out a Tommy Armour Blade Silver Scott and started using that last year.
I think you might have to keep it now after yesterday.
It's going to stay in the bag for a long time. I do want to switch it out for eventually Wilson 8802.
Which
they don't make anymore, but I'm going to find eventually, and I'm going to throw that in the bag because I have a Wilson staff bag. And the driver, 3-wood, 5-wood that I use are all tailor-made burners. The driver I got from you last year, there's a story behind that driver. That one I'll be using for a while until something better comes along, but that's not going anywhere because that changed a large part of my game between last year and this year.
Yes.
Was the driver.
Yes, you got a little bit newer technology. The newer technology is typically a little better, can help you hit the ball a little further, it seems like. And like you'd said, you've always had secondhand clubs, so that was a relatively newer driver. I had bought a new driver last year, and I just kind of had it in my truck the one day, and I think you were kind of like, hey, can I use that driver today? So you took it out for a few rounds, and the running joke all season was the price kept going up every time you hit a good shot and down every time you hit a bad shot.
So we were at Medicine Hat Golf and Country Club the first time I pulled that driver out of your truck because the driver I had wasn't getting me anything, and Medicine Hat usually eats me up.
Yeah, it's a longer course.
It's a longer course, and I didn't have a lot of distance. So I pulled that driver out of your truck, and I remember the par 5, number 1, first shot, hard shank to the left with that driver. And I was like, well, I'll give it another whirl. And the second one was a pretty good shot down. No, I think I played that ball.
I think you did play that ball,
I played that ball. So then I hit 4 fairways in a row with it. And then I was sold that you're not getting this thing back. We just have to negotiate a price now.
Yeah.
And, that was the running joke all last year is that as I started hitting fairways with it and getting longer, at least getting 20, 30 yards further, the price started going up. But really good club, tailor-made burner. I'll be using it for pretty much this entire season unless something else comes up that I get to try. But I won't be buying anything new to fit in the bag to take that out.
Well, it's funny because you actually ended up using that club because I ordered a Bomb Tech driver and 3-wood online from this guy in the States who makes clubs for amateurs. I wanted to try something a little different. So I used that driver and 3-wood for probably maybe 10 rounds. Just turned out that the stiff shafts that they came with just weren't stiff enough for me in my swing speed. Eventually, I bought a Callaway Epic Flash driver and a Callaway Epic Flash 3-wood, which are currently in my bag now. And they have a lot more freedom. You can adjust them up and down. There's a lot of changes you can make to them to help tailor-make your game. Obviously with the stiff shafts because of my swing speed, and they've seemed to fit in well. I also have a 4 hybrid Callaway Maverick I got on sale last year at Medicine Hat Golf and Country Club towards the end of the year. I had a hole in my bag. I was kind of looking for a club that was kind of in that distance. One
for when we shank our drives. You
got
it up there.
Yeah, and that one just kind of spoke to me, so I took it out on the range, and it made its way into my bag. And then I got some Bomb Tech wedges. I got a 52, a 56, and a 60. Those are a little bit of a work in progress for me trying to hit those, but along with my Maltby putter and my Mizuno irons, that pretty well rounds out my bag. Now I'm a little different because I golf cross-handed. So for me, it's, if you see me out there golfing, I'll be wearing some ridiculously bright out uniform, I'm sure.
Hard on the eyes.
Yeah, it'll consist of some bright pants and a bright shirt, and I'm just out there to have fun and, have a good time. But the first thing you'll notice is instead of traditionally having a lower right hand on the club, as most right-hand golfers do, I golf right-handed, but I golf with a lower left hand, and I wear my glove on the right hand.
It's kind of a crossover grip.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, it's, maybe I sacrifice some distance off the tee. I'm not sure. I honestly, I should have probably learned how to golf left-handed, but as a kid, for as little as I golfed, I couldn't really find a left-handed set of clubs, so I taught myself how to golf right-handed, gripping the club the way I did, and it just kind of stuck with me. I have tried to golf left-handed with a club at the driving range, and it's not pretty. I basically have to revamp my swing.
For that funky grip that you have, you still play okay.
Yeah,
even with the funky grip, because you've learned how to use it, right? So,
right. I mean, I
don't think anymore is going to be an excuse or a hindrance. That's how you golf, and you're just going to develop that, right?
Yeah, and I think it actually helps me in certain places where I'm not so handsy, especially on really short chip shots around the green with the putter, because the way I'm going is you have to break the wrist backwards when you're putting or in those short chips, and it doesn't allow me to be so handsy and lose that feel there. But I mean, this year I've found that my driver's coming awake a little bit. We've been working on driver setup. Both of us have. You're traditionally pretty well straight down the pipe most of the time. I'm usually aim up the left side, have a little bit of a fade back, trying to turn it into a fade anyways instead of a slice.
Like anything, when I get lazy, I get sporadic.
Yep.
A little bit of spray and pray when I get lazy.
Or tired, right?
Or tired, or don't focus on hey, you're hitting a drive here. Maybe you want to look at the ball instead of looking at where you want the ball to go, because that usually doesn't work out too well.
Yeah, it's and I mean, this year my focus has been on getting my irons honed in, and really working on my shots. 20 to 65, 70 yards. If I can get those kind of dialed in and find a shot in there that I'm comfortable with and comfortable hitting, I feel like I can take my game to the next level. I mean, we're very average golfers. We do have days where we play really, really well. But like anybody else,
we have days where we play really, really poorly.
It's true, and like anybody else as an amateur, I mean, the hope is that we find some consistency to where we can go out there and limit the really bad days and try and have more really good days.
So on this Mulligans and Hackers tour that we're going, we have some out of town dates, just golf courses we played last year.
Yep,
we went to a couple places last year when we could. And there's some really nice golf courses around southern Alberta that are just little hidden gems.
Yeah, nobody really knows about.
One of our stops is going to be Rolling Hills. We had to go back there because we played 27 there last year.
Yes, we played 27 there last year, and that was pretty well the end of your season, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I hurt my wrist there at the end of the 27, and that actually pretty much wiped me out for the last 2 months of the season last year with tendonitis. I'll tell you, I fell in love with that course as soon as I got out of the truck. Pretty much we were in the parking lot and I was like, yeah, I could golf here for quite a while.
It was a little 9-hole course, about 45 minutes to an hour away from where we are. It's got a beautiful little 9-hole course, designed nicely. It's
too out of reach.
No, but it does have some strategic holes where you have some trees that are in the way. Like the first hole, I'll never forget. You hit a perfect tee shot down the fairway, and there's a tree directly in your way in front of the green. I don't know who designed that, but it's a challenging shot. You're better to pull it to the right and then just kind of go through the gap.
But I do believe I parred that first one, though.
I think you did. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's one of our favorite courses to play. And, I mean, the clubhouse is awesome. We had lunch there, and it was terrific food, just homemade food.
This small town feel.
Yeah.
And, like, the people there are great. I really enjoyed the golf course. I enjoyed just sitting in the clubhouse. It's a place where you go just spend the day.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And it's not that far away, so...
No, and not super duper busy, but busy enough that it was good. And I mean, the environment was good there. There wasn't anybody that was, super uppity about playing on the course or the pace of play out there. So that was really, really nice. And it's, like I say, it's within 45 minutes to an hour of Medicine Hat. So easy for us to leave in the morning, drive out there, play 18, play 27, whatever we want to do that day, and come on back.
And then we picked Burstall because we went there last year.
Correct.
So Burstall's on the list where we're going to go and take our buddies this year.
Yeah, Burstall's a kind of an interesting course. I mean, just into the Saskatchewan border. Basically a 9-hole course in the middle of a farmer's field.
Yep. So we get there and there's nobody in the clubhouse. So it's the honor system. So you have to put your money in an envelope, put it in the slot.
Yeah. What was it? It was like $24 or something, and you can golf as many holes as you want all day.
Yeah, I think it was $20 to do 18 or $30 to golf all day.
Yeah.
And they had some really challenging par 5s on that course.
They do, yes.
But what we didn't realize was you had to call ahead to get the golf cart, so we had to walk it. So by the end of it, I was pretty much out of it.
Yeah, I think you played 18,
yeah.
And then we went for lunch. and again, a nice little diner with some homemade food. Really good feel, really good vibe.
And the ladies that were there came out and had lunch with us.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't believe we drove all that way to play golf in Burstall when we have golf courses in Medicine Hat. But there's so many nice courses around Southern Alberta that it's criminal not to go and try these golf courses out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like to get out and play as many as I can. I mean, after we had lunch that day, I convinced you to come back and be my caddy for another 9 holes.
I caddied for another 9 holes. Yeah.
You're kind of done with the
walking.
walking.
I didn't have any
playing.
swings left in me.
So, I mean, this year before we go out, I think we might call ahead and see if we can get some carts set up for the boys that are heading out there. What else do we got on the travel list this year?
Bow Island.
Yeah, we got Bow Island on there.
We've already done. Bow Island was our first game this year.
Yes, it was.
Because it was open before the Medicine Hat courses.
2 weeks before.
So we decided that the crew that we play with, we would just take a trip out to Bow Island and do 18 out there. And that first 18 wasn't that bad for our first game of the year.
No, there was, obviously there was some rush we had to shake off. I mean, we haven't swung golf clubs in 6-7 months. So it was about time to get some swings in. But, I mean, again, Bow Island, another beautiful 9-hole course within 45 minutes of Medicine Hat. Really nice clubhouse, really nice feel. The pace of play isn't ridiculous. The people out there that we've met were really nice.
Yep.
Again, you start with a par 5 out there. There's lots of courses out here that they start you off with a nice long par 5, and they don't waste any time getting to the nitty gritty.
I think the other course then we have is Cypress Hills that we're going to.
Correct, and I've never played that one personally. I don't know if you have or not.
I haven't. That's kind of a throw-in for our other buddy Chris that's part of this crew. He has a cabin out there, so we decided we were going to give him a little bit of a home course advantage.
Yep.
Playing Cypress, so
we'll see how that works out.
We'll see how that plays out for him. But I'm excited to go do that one. And we're gonna throw Medicine Hat Golf and Country Club for a round in on this
in July. Yes, in July in the schedule, we got a date for Medicine Hat Golf and Country Club, which it's a lot longer course. It's probably the nicest course in Medicine Hat. Very, very, very well kept. It's long. It starts you with a par 5 on one.
It kind of eats me up as we get into number 12 and 13. Of course, doesn't play to my advantages.
What is it? 15, I think, is like the longest par 4 on the course.
Yeah.
And it's a long one. It's tough. You have to hit 2 really, really good shots if you want to get the green in 2.
But hopefully, getting a lot of golf in early in the year will at least give me an opportunity to break 100 on that course this year. That's my goal.
Well, I think
breaking 100 on that course.
I think you hit 100 last year.
Well, I broke 100 2 years ago, I think.
Okay.
I was in the low 90s.
Yep.
But the last couple times we've played, I haven't gotten to 100, and I'm going to do that this year.
I'm hoping to break 90 out there this year. I typically like that course actually, because I mean the longer courses seem to play right into my strengths, where I hit a lot longer balls. I'm a little bit longer with my irons. I seem to struggle more with the short par 3s. As we can see at Cottonwood, those tend to be my trouble spots. Which
we all have trouble with the par 3s for some reason. We spent years playing a par 3 here and at Paradise Valley. You'd think we'd have a little more success on the par 3s, but nope.
Yeah, they look like they should be so easy, and yet you get up there and it's, I mean, if you hit the green, you're super happy.
Yep.
And you want to grab your 2-putt and run away with a par.
But it's hitting that green. I don't know what it is. I mean, we were spraying it all yesterday, and the last time we were out, we were spraying the par 3s. We just couldn't get there.
Yeah, I mean, some of them, especially back at the Cottonwood, our home course, the par 3s are all typically anywhere from 100 to, I think the max is like 140, 150 yards.
Yep. So you wouldn't think anything unmanageable, like with a 9-iron or an 8-iron or even a pitch wedge. Like, just get it up in the air and get it out there. But I don't know. Well,
there's some water hazards in the way. There's some sandboxes. There's a lot of trouble on the right side. So as right golfers, anybody with a natural fade, I mean, there's a lot of trouble in play there if you're not careful. And that's by design, I think.
Yeah, probably.
So, I mean, it's a course that, well, it's not as long as some of the other courses in town. It does really suit our skill set right now. I mean, typically we play from the blues. There is another tee box back the Blacks.
The Blacks.
Which, I mean, if we continue to improve and we get to a point where we can play the Blacks, it gives you a different look on the course. There's a couple holes that
adds yards.
Right, and there's a couple holes that have some beautiful views, so some really high tee boxes off those Blacks that are going to affect your ball flight very differently than what we're seeing on the Blues.
So then after Cypress and Medicine Hat, towards the end of the year in September, I believe we scheduled for, we're going to have a finale for our Mulligans and Hackers group.
Yes, we're going to have our season's championship. We'll be at Cottonwood, September 18th and 19th. It'll be a 2-day event. Throughout our tour season, we've posted our tour season dates on our Facebook page. If you want to go over there and give that a like, you can find us on Facebook at Mulligans and Hackers Golf. Go over there when you're on Facebook, give us a like, share anything you guys want to share on there. We'd love for you guys to do that. We're going to have our season's championship. Basically, our tour chase, as we've called it, for the season's championship. We're going to keep standings after every day. Everybody who's participating will send in a scorecard.
And the people participating mostly is our Mulligans and Hackers group, our friends, and some drop-ins along the way.
Right.
Most of you guys out there already know who's participating in this, and some of our friends that we've golfed with before, we're more than welcome to come in and ask us how you get your scorecards on here. That's fine. You're more than welcome.
I mean, if we have any friends or family that are around on those dates that want to try and accumulate some points, everybody who participates in a few of the dates at minimum is going to qualify for the season championship. Like we say, it's going to be a 2-day event, so we're going to accumulate points all year. I think the idea is that based upon the season standings, the first person is going to get a certain number of mulligans, sticking with our Mulligans and Hackers
to use
theme,
in the championship
to use in
weekend.
the championship over 2 days. I mean, you can use them on just about any shot.
Yep.
I mean, it might be strategic to use them on a birdie putt per se,
yep.
Or maybe you hit a drive that goes into the trees. You might want to hit one there. I mean, that happens to us often.
So the advantage for finishing further up the standings is, on the weekend, you get more mulligans than the guy below you.
Correct.
So it plays into some of our game when we need those extra shots taken off our scorecards.
Well, I mean, this year so far, I mean, we've been playing practice rounds this April. And I mean, what have we been doing? We've been taking a mulligan per 9.
Yep.
And I mean, otherwise you're penalized. Yep. You have to take your penalty strokes, which honestly I think has been helping us get better. I mean, last year we were taking maybe mulligans, a few more mulligans.
But we weren't playing as much last year either.
No.
So we didn't want to ruin our scorecards by throwing in every single foot wedge that we were using.
Yep.
Every single ball we were kind of pulling out of the bushes. We didn't want to throw it on our scorecard because we weren't playing enough. But this year, now that we have our memberships and we're going to play a lot, well, now we want to get some accurate scores. Where we are on the course, what's our not necessarily handicaps, but what's our average scores legitimately on these courses.
Yeah, and I mean, as April comes to a close and our tour season is going to start May 1st and 2nd, we're going to start with back-to-back days at Cottonwood. The mulligans are going to be gone. So for our tour season, there's no mulligans in those rounds up until the season championship when you've earned however many mulligans throughout the year. So that means if you shank a shot and you got to take a penalty stroke, you got to take a penalty stroke. You got to try and make good shots.
So on the event days, you don't necessarily need to play with us, like in our groups or in front of us or behind us. If you go down and you play your round at Cottonwood on the event day, all you got to do is just text us your scorecard. We put it in. We basically score it as we would look at a scorecard on TV.
Yep.
So the guy who finishes with the best score will get top points that day, and so on. So you don't necessarily have to be with us on that day. Just be part of the crew and let us know that you're there on that day and that you're going to submit a scorecard.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think we've got, how many guys do we got hooked up already?
Right now we've got 4 for sure, 6 guaranteed, and there's going to be probably about another 4 to 6 part-timers coming in and going through.
Yeah, I mean, I got family that comes down and loves to play golf. So, I mean, we'll get my dad and my brother in there and some other family members that want to play. I'm sure you got the same.
Yep, and some of our friends, like Isaac, has a couple of guys that'll get in throughout the year, and we've got some other friends that we know that we play with regularly that they'll come through and get a lot of scorecards in throughout the year. Just hopefully that all of us can kind of make the season finale and just have a good time on the weekend and to finish up this fun tournament that we started.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the first annual, our inaugural tournament. Something that we just kind of, we discussed when we were discussing Mulligans and Hackers, and it kind of came up as, I think maybe it was it Darren or our other buddy Chris that had suggested maybe something like that when we were out there earlier this month. And the more we thought about it, the more, we were thinking about starting it just every round we played, and then you had suggested starting it in May. To give us some time to get some practice rounds in and kind of make it an official thing, which I love. And then once that season championship comes around, it's a 2-day cumulative score, and then we'll see what we have in place at that time for the winner.
And it just gives our family and friends that aren't close to us, because I have a lot of family and friends that are not close to me, gives them a chance to look at how we're playing golf.
Absolutely. Right? Yep. I mean, I spend a lot of time on Instagram.
When I talk to my family, we talk a lot about golf and how my golf game is going and how their golf game is going. Well, this is a way for them to just follow my golf game all year.
Yep.
And then I don't have to talk to them.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time on Instagram. I'll often, to share my scores. My dad plays a lot of golf, especially the last couple years. We've gotten him back interested in playing because he has someone that plays with him. My brother lives in Calgary, plays a lot of golf. So whenever they're down here, my cousin that lives in Calgary, he usually fills out our foursome when we're up there. Last year we went and played some sweet courses in and around Calgary. We played Glendale, we played Serenity, we played Kananaskis Ranch.
Which one was that Phil Mickelson course?
We didn't play that one, but
no?
There's a new one opened outside of Calgary that's designed by Phil Mickelson.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to get on there, but I think you have to know a member in order to get a tee time.
Because I think last year you could go and play.
Right.
But this year it's privatized now.
Yes, I do believe so. I'd have to check into that, but I think that's the case.
Yeah.
And I mean, last year, my buddy Mark and I, with our wives, we went out to Kananaskis. We played Mount Kidd, golf course in the middle of the mountains. Kananaskis, absolutely gorgeous. Really, really nice backdrop, really fun course. Played a bunch of other ones in and around Calgary, which was super fun. Last year I kind of took it to a next level myself, and I just, anytime I could play golf, I was playing golf. And this year, with us getting the membership, we try to go every weekend. I mean, last weekend we got rain snowed out on Sunday.
We're still really early in the golf year, so
it's true.
And we live in Medicine Hat, where you can get all 5 seasons in a day, right?
Yeah.
So I think we got 8 to 10 rounds in already, and we're still technically right around the beginning of a normal golf season. So
yeah, we
not a bad start.
No, we can't complain. That's for sure. I mean, I spend a lot of time. I'm sure my wife gets a little crazy with me. I spend a lot of time in my living room doing a lot of putting practice, chipping.
You need it.
Yeah, I do. Especially right now. It'll come together though. The hope is that once the season starts, that my game will be dialed in and I can climb that points board and keep you below me.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Our other buddy Chris, he's actually won both times.
The last two. Yep.
So he's going to be a guy that we're going to watch.
Yeah, he's starting to come around,
and he's hitting the ball a lot better contact.
He's a lefty.
He's a lefty, so he's an abomination already.
But yeah, he's been playing strong lately. His game's coming around. He's kind of took it to us yesterday a little bit. I mean, although his last 3-4 holes he kind of fell apart a little bit, but he had a big enough lead after the first 14 or 15 that it was okay. And I mean, other than that, we're prepping to get ready for our inaugural season.
For playing a lot of golf.
Yeah,
because we don't have all of our golf days are not Mulligans and Hackers days, so we plan on golfing with a lot of people, and we plan on golfing at a lot more places too than just what we have on there.
Yeah, what did you one night you sat down, how many golf courses are around here within an hour or so, or a couple hours?
Within 2.5 hours, I think I stopped at 40 golf courses within this area. That's including, like BC, Saskatchewan, and southern Alberta, right?
That's a lot, though.
Maple Creek would be one I would really like to go to.
Yes, they got a little 9-hole course there. We'll have to get out there one of these days.
We haven't done Elkwater?
Nope.
So, I mean, there's golf courses close by that we haven't done. I haven't played Connaught in 15 years.
I played Connaught 2 or 3 years ago at a company golf tournament. But I mean, other than that, I would typically just play it once a year when that happened. But I mean, obviously last year with the circumstances in the world, didn't get to do that. So I mean, that would be nice to play. I wouldn't mind giving Desert Bloom a blast. I haven't played there since my bachelor party like 3-4 years ago. And that day was horrid cold, so it was not indicative of how we could play golf. It was
that course terrifies me.
Well, you got to hit good shots out there. And I mean, if we're
you got to do that anywhere.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're going to be a better golfer, you kind of got to face your fears and try and hit those shots.
I'll face my fears at Cottonwood for a while to start.
Well, I mean, so that's us. How about what's happening in the world of professional golf right now? I mean, last night, Lydia Ko on the women's tour won her first tournament in over 3 years, winning the Lotte Championship
in astounding fashion.
Record setting. She set a new record. I think she was minus 27 or minus 28. She played really well. She basically just ran away from the field. Our lone Canadian in there, Brooke Henderson, was the 2-time defending champion actually going into this tournament. I
was really rooting for her to get the hat trick.
She played well. I mean, she was consistent. She went 4 under, 4 under, 4 under, and then I mean, her final round wasn't great, but I mean, she did enough to finish in middle of the pack, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't a tournament where she kind of ran away with it or had a really good time, but she did pretty well. And it was nice to see Lydia back in the winner's circle. She, when she was younger, she came on the scene like fire and just started winning tournaments left, right, and center, setting records at the time. So it was nice to see her get a win. Right now, actually, on the TV, we're watching the final round of the RBC Heritage. It looks like Stuart Sink is still got a 4-stroke lead over Gorillo. McNeely is...
Morikawa's dropped back 7 now.
Yeah, and McNeely's 6 strokes back. So it looks like it might be Stuart Sink's day again, even though he's about 20 years older than the guys chasing him today.
That fits in right with us. I'm 20 years older than you are.
That's about right. And I mean, how about last weekend at the Masters?
I watched a lot of golf last week.
Yep.
I watched a lot of that Masters tournament. It was just that's the gem.
Yeah.
Augusta.
It was beautiful. It's kind of crazy to think that the defending champion didn't make the cut. Dustin Johnson. I mean, no Rory McIlroy. He didn't make the cut either.
There was a lot of top names that didn't make the cut.
Nope. I mean, John Rahm played basically par golf for 3 days, and then the final round he kind of went on a little heater. But I mean, get him into the top 10.
Yep.
But he didn't play great either. And I mean, Hideki just kind of ran away with it.
Yeah, he played consistently enough to stay ahead of everyone.
Yeah, I mean, there was kind of a little light there for Schauffele, and I think it was on 15, where Hideki put one in the water, and Schauffele kind of got it to within 2, and then he promptly, on the next hole, put one right back in the water and kind of gave it back.
Gave it back to him.
My favorite story, personally, of that tournament was young Will Zalatoris.
Yep.
I mean, Happy Gilmore's caddy. He was just out there doing his thing.
That was an impressive showing from him, and because it didn't seem like the pressure of being at Augusta and being in the Masters really bothered him that much.
No, he was, I mean, especially for his first time being there, he really played a really strong game. I mean, he missed a few putts that could have put some pressure on Hideki early, but, I mean, that's to be expected. He's in his early 20s. Your first major at Augusta that you're participating in, and I mean, for him to finish in the top 3, really, really well done. Really good showing. I mean, that brings us... So who's your favorite golfer right now on the tour, Alvin?
Mine?
Yeah.
I don't know if I have one. I mean, I like watching Bryson DeChambeau for his insanity that he does off the tee box.
Ugh.
But I don't know if that makes him my favorite golfer. That's just watching a freak play golf, in my opinion, right?
Well, the mad scientist, as everybody calls him.
Yeah. I don't know. I like watching all these golfers play, and I do watch a lot. I watch a fair amount of golf.
Yep.
But I mean, I like Justin Thomas. I like him. I don't mind watching Bryson. But on the men's side, I don't. I mean, I follow Connors because he's a Canadian.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? So,
best Canadian on the tour right now between him and Mackenzie Hughes.
Looks like he's at minus 12.
Yeah, he's crept into third.
7 behind, but he's only got 8 holes left. But he's a guy I watch too, pretty much every weekend, like on the
LPGA.
LP. Yeah, I watch Brooke Henderson because she's a Canadian.
Yep. Yeah, and one of the best in the world.
Yep.
She's I think she's top 10 or top 15.
So I watch the ladies play because I like golf. I watch some Korn Ferry Tour stuff, but not really favorite golfers that that's the guy I want to win.
Is there anybody that you kind of, you watch and you feel like you want to tailor your game kind of after?
There's nobody out there that plays that bad.
Fair enough. But I mean, if you're working to get better, anybody that you kind of...
Well, I mean, if I want to be like somebody who's number one in the world right now, I want to be like that guy. But that's not going to happen.
It's true. I mean, I grew up in a day and age watching Tiger as a little bit younger.
I would really like to see Tiger come back and play after that accident that he had. I was actually interested to see if he, after his back surgery, if he was actually going to make the Masters.
Yep.
But then he had the car accident and that wiped that out totally.
I think that's something that watching golf on the weekends, I think that's something that golf is missing right now. A real superstar who brings excitement and draw to the game. Well, there's a lot of the same out there right now.
So when Tiger was good, I didn't like him because he was good.
Yep.
Right? So... he becomes the anti-hero. I don't want him to win because he's just too damn good. So I want somebody else to win. So back in the day, John Daly was always my favorite guy because he was just that smoking, beer drinking, go out there, drive the ball along, and see what happens type of golfer.
Absolutely.
But now that Tiger's, I guess, towards the end of his career,
yep,
I would really like to see him come back and actually give golf that little bit of boost that he used to. Like, just the name. Tiger Woods is playing this tournament, right?
Well, yeah.
And I think he's still... because I don't know how old he is. He's not quite Champions Tour material yet, but I would like to see him give some of these young guys a run so that he could actually make their names a little better, because that's the guy that was in the running with Tiger towards the end of a tournament.
Well, we seen that a couple years ago when he came back and he won the Masters.
Yeah.
And I mean, those young guys, they talked about, wanting to play Tiger in his prime and wanting this, and they couldn't handle it that day. When Tiger was on the prowl in that final round, there was some real chances for those young guys to make some really good shots, and they crumbled to the pressure. Yep. It's a different animal when he's on.
You bet. When Tiger's a couple strokes ahead of you or a couple strokes behind you, you have to beat him because he's not going to beat himself.
That's right. And I mean, he's just a very consistent golfer. So I'm hoping that he can come back from his car crash and maybe potentially play again someday. I mean, obviously his health is first and foremost, but I mean, we'll have to wait and see.
So there's a golfer that I really like. Okay, so maybe not my favorite, but Phil Mickelson. He's a golfer that I watch and I cheer for him every time he's out there.
Lefty.
He's a lefty too, yeah. Right? So, but I took my putting style last year from him.
Right.
So he uses a blade putter with what's called a saw grip.
Yep.
So that's what I started doing last year, and it made my putting better. Weight control, distance, and line just started to come around for me. So that's a guy that I really like, is Phil Mickelson.
Another guy that I really like nowadays, Jordan Spieth. I really like how he hits the ball, how he strikes it. His putting, when he's at the top of his game, he's one of the best putters in the world. That's arguably my favorite club in my bag.
So I watched Jordan Spieth for a few tournaments there early on, and he was always in contention and kind of fell off on Sundays. So I said that I was going to stop cheering for him.
Yep.
Until he won.
Yep.
And then
he won the Valero a couple weeks ago.
So I was like, okay, I can cheer for Spieth again.
Yeah, and I mean, he played well last week at the Masters too, just not quite. His game's still not quite where he wants it to be.
There was another level that he could have got to.
But he's getting there. The signs have been there the last 3-4 tournaments that he's on the right trajectory. I think he's going to make some noise this year, maybe be in contention at a couple big tournaments. I mean, it was nice for him to get a win for the first time in a long time, as well as Hideki. First time in a couple years. I mean, that's what Lydia Ko said last night when she won her tournament. She basically, she'd been watching Spieth and Hideki win in the last couple weeks, saying, hey, I watched those guys win and I thought, hey, maybe there is some hope for me because it's been such a long time since she won. It's kind of cool to see that how they, they watch each other, even though they're part of different tours, cheer each other on.
It's kind of funny to watch golfers, and they talk about all the top golfers a lot, and, guys that are always in the chance to win. But there's so many golfers that maybe won 10 years ago, but either don't win again, or it takes them 10, 12 years, or 3 or 5 years to win again.
That's right.
I mean, it's just so hard to win on this tour. If you can win 2 or 3 times in a year, I think you're like an ultimate elite golfer.
Absolutely. I mean, it's tough to, when you're playing at the level they're playing at when you're on the tours, I mean, any little mistake and you get crushed for it.
Yep.
I mean, these guys are, they're going driver wedge or driver iron nowadays. There ain't a lot of fairway metals that are being used, unless it's off the tee in some cases, because guys are so long now with the technology. Even some of the ladies are really pounding the ball on their distance. It's just nice to see. It's, they have the consistency that we as amateurs hope to get, and that's why they're on the tour, and we're not. That's why we're back here, playing on our home courses and just trying to have some fun.
So my drive, I think I hit one on the weekend there, 270.
Yeah. I think that was your drive on Thursday.
At number 8.
At number 8, the hole that you eagled yesterday.
Yeah.
You actually overdrove the green, and you drove it 270. And then yesterday you came up, you were just on the fringe of the green, the front fringe. So it was probably about 15 yards shorter, but in a much better position with the front pin. And then,
that's my maximum that I've ever hit the golf ball. Is like 250, 270. Right, and we watch these guys go out there with a driver, and it's 320.
Yeah,
some of the big hitters are 340.
Yeah, Bryson some days he can just pummel that ball. Rory's a big hitter. Dustin Johnson's a big hitter. For me, when I take my driver out of the bag, if I get it straight, I can approach that 300-yard range. Yeah. But the key is getting it straight. It's been more consistent this year since I've upgraded to a mid-size +2 grip. From a standard, so it doesn't feel like my hands are rolling over as much on it, causing me to lose distance slicing it.
Right.
But it's still a work in progress. It's a club that lately I haven't been putting as much work into as I normally would, just because I've been trying to hone my irons and really focus on my wedges, because I feel I got a lot of clubs in my bag, and especially at Cottonwood, I don't need my driver for more than really maybe 4 holes.
4 holes, yeah. I found myself, because I was any par 4 ever. I always pulled my driver out. And I do find now this year, even early in the year, that I'm not pulling my driver out on every par 4.
No, and I noticed yesterday, Darren and I were riding in the cart yesterday, and we were talking about it. I think actually on 8, when we all hit really nice shots. And we were driving ahead, and he just kind of leans over to me, and he's like, it's kind of nice to be golfing in a group where guys just don't see one guy pulling out a driver and everybody feels like the need to do that, right? Because we all know roughly what our distances are. I think you hit driver there. I think McKeechan hit driver.
Even the ability to put yourself in position off the tee box without a driver, say 3-wood or 5-wood, to give yourself an iron shot in.
Yep.
So you don't want a half swing gap wedge in. You want a full swing in.
Well, and that's my problem right now, right? I might even be, I've been dialing back to a 5 hybrid, a 4 hybrid. I might even need to dial back more to leave myself with a full gap wedge.
Yes.
Or
instead of a 3/4 swing or a half swing.
Yes.
With a 52 degree.
Yep.
Right? Because that's what you want to avoid. So now we're starting to really dial down on the driver off some of the tee boxes. You don't need it.
No.
But before, when we didn't golf a lot, you always wanted to take that driver because you never got to use it.
That's right. That's right. There's lots of holes now. I think that's the first time you've ever drove a green or overdrove a green.
Yeah.
Last year I was using my driver on, I think 5 to drive the green. I drove it once or twice. 17, 11.
I think I drove the par 5, just cleared that ravine on the par 5 once last year. I had a really good drive. And then I pulled out your 3-wood.
Yeah, and you just crushed it.
And I crushed it over. But that's not usually the play on that hole. It's a driver, gap wedge layup, and then try to go for the green.
Well, it's tough on that par 5 because they have that water that's right on the ledge, right? You got to hit a really good tee shot and a really good second shot if you want to go for it in 2, and then the green is just an absolute nightmare. It's a nightmare. So it's not
really, I wanted to just skip that hole yesterday. That was just awful.
There's some frustration there, but we made it through it.
We did.
Yeah. So it's nowadays this year, instead of pulling out my driver on a lot of those same holes that I was using the driver to drive the green last year. 11, I've driven the green with a 4 hybrid. It's crazy to think. I think part of that is watching some videos, learning how the swing mechanics work better.
I spent a lot of time on my driver setup. Be honest and say that it's really improved my confidence in the driver and my ability to actually use the driver effectively. Just watching videos on how you set your feet up, how you step up to the ball, and how you line your feet up, and it's really and it just adds a different element to the game that I've never had in the past ever on any golf course. Was pulling out a driver and being able to hit it straight 230, 240 consistently.
Yeah.
And it just comes from us going to the range a lot.
Yeah, no, I love to spend time on the range.
We both agreed. Like last year, we spent more time on the range than we did on the golf course.
Yep.
Because when we went out on the golf course, we actually wanted to be able to at least semi-accomplish something on the golf course.
Well, that's right. I mean, a lot of guys just go to the range and they just power through buckets of balls. I mean, typically, I like to get to the golf course a little bit earlier, probably an hour and a half, 2 hours usually before I tee off. And, I'll grab a bucket of balls. I'll go through a bucket. I'll start at my 60 and work my way up through my bag. Maybe I'm doing, I'll try some stuff with my wedges. I'll do some half swings, some 3/4 swings to see what's on today, what's not today. And then work up to my driver. Kind of go from there. Maybe there's something on a particular club that I want to focus on that day.
I really need to work on my irons.
Well,
especially in the 7, 8, 9 pitch wedge gap area, which we're using at Cottonwood a lot, because I find my irons were never a problem until it just seems like I got the new ones and I haven't quite dialed them in yet.
Yeah, I can understand that with my new set as well.
And irons were never a problem. I always had the feel to get there especially with anything, like a 9-iron or a pitch wedge or a gap wedge. That was never an issue getting there. But now it seems like this year my drive is good, which was never good in the past. And now my wedges have kind of left me a little bit. But that's because I haven't spent any time on the driving range this year at all. I think I've only probably been twice.
Yeah, lately you've been rolling up about 20 minutes before tee time, and away you go.
Yeah,
so
and, that's going to change with the
weather.
Hopefully with the weather change here. It's still snowing outside, so
we talked about what was in our bags. We've introduced ourselves to you guys. My last thing that I'd like to touch on today, Alvin, what kind of golf ball are you playing this year?
Srixon.
Yeah, and any particular reason?
Nope. Just that was the brand I said I was going to go with, and I'm going with it because our other buddy Chris was chirping me about changing balls throughout the year last year. So that ain't happening this year. I'm using Srixon from start to finish this year.
Well, I mean,
although I do have some Pro V1s coming, and I might give those a whirl a couple of times throughout the year.
Fair enough.
We'll see about that.
Well, if my memory serves me, doesn't Chris play with some pink Titleist balls?
He does, and that suits his personality fine. They're hard to see. I really find those balls hard. Not that I can see a ball off the tee box.
Not as hard as the green ones, but yeah, the colored balls sometimes are a little bit harder to see. I mean, this year I made a change. I typically
I was going to say, what did you get this year for golf balls?
Yeah, typically I play TaylorMades, soft selects a lot last year, and some TP5s. This year I had heard about Vice Golf, so they were having a little bit of a sale, so I got 5 dozen Vice Pro Plus golf balls. Threw a little 4-leaf clover on there because that's my style.
That's kind of your symbol that you use.
Yeah, and I ordered those up. I've been using them this year, and I mean I like the feel of them. They kind of fit my game, and they've been done well for me this season. So I can't really complain about it, and I'll continue using them this year. It's kind of nice because we all use different kinds of balls, so it's very easy to distinguish whose ball's what. And
I haven't figured out the true difference between using one golf ball versus another, because I guess I don't really hit the ball pure enough to get a feel of using a Pro V1 versus a Pinnacle or a Top Flight or a Titleist.
I think it's a lot of feel. Honestly, I think it's more feel for us as amateur golfers. I think it's more feel around the green. Like a couple years ago, I used to use like the Callaway Super Softs, like the orange and the green and the red ones. I really like how those feel around the green, and I think Darren actually uses the white ones, and he loves those.
Yeah, I did use Srixon last year for a while. Remember, I had those Srixon red ones.
Yep.
I used those for a while last year, in between changing in and out of whatever was kind of in the bag. So that's kind of why I went with Srixon, because I didn't mind that golf ball.
Yep.
Not that I play better or worse with that golf ball, but that's just, I guess, the brand name that I went with.
Yep.
And that's what I'm going with this year.
No, that's and I mean we're both trying different balls this year, and hopefully with our new iron setups and our bag setups, we can kind of pull things together as the season goes along, and we're looking forward to the start of the season here coming up, and
it's going to be a lot of fun. And that's what we did this for, was pretty much for us to have a lot of fun with this year. And we brought in a few other guys into this. It's not just us.
No.
We have a crew that we golf with, and that's going to be a big part of this as well. And, you'll start seeing those on some pictures that we post.
Yeah, pictures. We might have the odd guy on the podcast, possibly.
Yeah, we'll see what we come up with.
and kind of go from there. But I mean, that's I think that's enough for our first initial one. So I mean, we just want to say good luck to you guys out on the course this week. May all your hacks be findable and your mulligans plenty, and we'll see you next time.